Hello Tech Gig. So this is our first submission and for Tech Gig's JIO blockchain hackathon on micro lending system. I'm Apurjan. My teammate's name is Ashwath Mohane and our team's name is Blocksmith. Our lending platform will be called LaneDen. So LaneDen, what is LaneDen? LaneDen is actually a Hindi word and it means taking and giving something. That is what all lending is about. You lend some money to some person who becomes a borrower, and that then person then has to return that principal amount after a specific period of time with specified interest on that principal amount. So why blockchain? Why take this lending system onto blockchain? What is the problem with this existing system we already have? Now, the problem that we see in this existing system of lending or basically lending and borrowing is that there is a involvement of third party which is completely unnecessary to us. Like for example, what happens right now is that if I have some savings, I will go to a bank and I will deposit that savings with that bank, and for some interest rate, for some interest on that deposit. So that is it generally for 5 to 6%. But bank gives loan to borrowers who borrows from bank at a rate which is every time greater than 12% or something like that. So they are making profit out of that difference. But why do we do that? Why do we need banks for that? Why can't I just lend to some person who needs to borrow some money, and I can lend to them at a rate like 9% rate when they are actually paying bank a rate of 12% or 14%. They would obviously prefer to pay me a 9% rate rather than paying bank a 14% rate interest on the loan that they take. And to them is I will be getting more of money than I'm getting from banks. So what we have done here is that we have created two solidity contracts. Uh, Actually, one solidity contract that is called LaneDen. What it is that we are creating a LaneDen token, or which is called LDT. And what we are planning to do is that we are planning to create some structure like this. So a person who will want to borrow some money will first come to our portal for registration for KYC clearance. Then the person will make who needs to borrow will use our portal, especially made for the borrowers, for borrowing for creating a request of borrowing money, and that request will contain borrower's basic information like name, address, and something like that. Then the amount of money that that borrower needs, then the number of days, and the interest proposal that borrowers want to borrow at. So this time, that is the whole purpose of this bringing this lending system on blockchain. That now even the borrower can specify the rate at which he wants to borrow the money, and similarly, the lender can also make a similar request, and they both will be added on our list. Now, we can do this without blockchain. You may say that we can do this without blockchain. We have to create two portals, one for the borrower to make request, one for the lender to make a request. But then we will be saving this list on some database which will be owned by some third party, which we don't obviously want because we don't want to make or manufacture trust. We want to naturally trust. We want to build a trustless system, and that is blockchain really is. So, what will we do exactly? We will when borrower will make a request, his or her request will obviously be verified by some accredited rating, some verifiers who will verify if their collateral or whatever they are putting against the loan is actually worth the amount that they are asking as a loan or from the lender. So after their and if they will actually be able to pay for such amount of money that they are asking for. So if their request is accepted, if the request is rejected, then obviously they will have to make another request. If it is accepted, then it will be the borrower's information will be added. If success, then you can see the borrower's information will be added to a smart contract where we have created this structure for a borrower, and we will store this information of the borrower whose request has been accepted by our system, and then we can display this list by fetching it from the smart contract onto our portal, which the lender will use to select a borrower to choose from to lend the money to, and the rate of interest will be there. These are very pretty low rate of interest, obviously, but that is that is what we have showed here. So varying that it is the borrower who had made this request, so he is putting any sort of request that he fits suitable, like 4.2%, then obviously no lender would want to want to lend money at such a rate. Otherwise they would go to some bank and deposit at 6% rate. But that is the whole point. It's a free market and they can put any rate that they want. The borrower has put this rate, but some borrower has also given them 8.2% of rate of interest, and that would attract lender, obviously, and they would click on that person, and a transaction will be made. When the transaction will be made from their account to this account, and the transfer of JIO coin or the transfer of LDT token, we are actually very sort of very easy going with it. We actually want to name it JIO token, so we are not very much like fixed with that. But then our main focus is on the architecture right now, and then as the the point is, as this transaction will be made, as the lender will lend money to the borrower by selecting him or her from the list, a transaction ID will be created, obviously, and we want to store that transaction ID on the smart contract, and we are actually storing that transaction ID as an array in lender's array of transaction IDs he has made recently. We are planning to actually store up to 5 addresses, because we are planning to make a lender lend money at a time for a month or something like that to maximum of 5 people or so. We are storing transaction IDs because it will help us in identifying if suppose some borrower is uh, a defaulter. If he is not able to pay back the money, then this transaction ID can be easily used to track back to if the transaction was actually made, if lender actually lent it to the borrower, and if it was made, then the borrower is actually a defaulter, and it will be easy to know. So the process will be very swift. And if borrower is a defaulter, then obviously we are obviously making, in this case when we are adding this request here, we are obviously making borrower accept an agreement that if he or she fails to pay for pay after a month or whatever time they're specified for their money, if they are unable to pay back to the lender, then they will be a defaulter, and they will their collateral they will have to give up, or whatever the punishment or the fine, because then it's an agreement, so obviously the lender will be able to go to some that. uh, so this is a basic structure, but what is here? If you focus here, we have also mentioned a donor here. So because this was our micro lending system, this is the basic structure that we have come up with. But uh, suppose we also add a donating system to it as well. You see, because we think there is some sort of a gap of trust in this donating system as well, because if I want to donate money to an organization, then sometimes or most of the times it goes through some third party organization who is like promoting them, and I don't really trust on any third parties anymore, at least after blockchain has picture. So I feel like if we add a donating system, if person can become a donor here as well, and a person can become donee here as well, then the person can be added to the list here after being reviewed as a proper person who actually needs some money, then as a donation, then that they will be added to the list here, and a donor from our portal will be able to donate geocoin or LDT token, that is LinkedIn token, on our through our portal to that person directly, or through a smart contract, without involving any third party. So this is our future vision for this project of ours, not only just micro lending system but also a donating system. So this is what we have come up with. Then there's obviously one more thing, that borrowers, will they agree people to impose blockchain heavy theory on these people. So we are planning to make a web app, a portal where it will be where the borrower can come, and if suppose a borrower has asked for rupees 1,000, for example, then the if total donation has aggregated to 4,000 rupees, then the borrower can click the withdraw button, and the 1,000 rupees in see they will 0 coin. But when they click the withdraw button, they will get in terms of rupees into their accounts linked with our portal through this KYC and every clearance that we have done so far. Because we don't want to impose on them the cryptocurrencies. So if they are not very easy going with cryptocurrencies, then they can just withdraw in terms of rupees as well. And similarly, lenders can lend in terms of rupees. We will convert it into JIO automatically and smart contract. And so this is our project that we have made so far, and we're working towards it as we talk right now. And I'm going to show you some parts of the code now. See, this is the interest rate uh, at which the borrower wants to, you know, borrow the money. So this is the lending and borrow request functions, and then the transfer function here. We are planning to add donating and everything else as well. I hope our project is worth taking up and pushing forward and working on. And because it involves a future vision of a donating system, which we really want to work upon, we hope we get some really good response from your side. Thank you, TechGig. Thank you, GeoPoint.